Hello, my friends. 'Tis I, Dame Armiger Ranya. My heart and my sword are yours. This stream is a little bit experimental, where I have a sort of special guest here. We'll say that we're letting him into the room on a probationary basis. Addie, would you like to introduce yourself? Hello, kittens. 'Tis I, Adulath II, bastard son of a real bastard. Your hearts are mine. Yeah, it's like that. You all have heard my, little companion's voice on past streams, but I've not shown off his avatar as yet until today. That is by this, PNG tuber here by Misty Daydreams. Their commission information is in the channel description here on YouTube now, if you are curious where this lovely art comes from and maybe want to get some of your own. I don't know anything about their their commission status at the moment. We're not really in contact these days, but if you like that art style, they also did the channel background that I like for the banner that I put up, and various other. I don't know if I've actually got any other assets on stream at the moment of theirs, but yes, lovely artist. Be sure to send them money. All right. So last time was the second chapter, well, not literally chapter, apparently we're in chapter 4 of Stories from Soul the Gundog. I have not noticed any kind of in-game indication of when chapters begin and end, other than if you go to the saved game and create a saved game, it'll tell you what chapter you're in. So it's apparently not a, like, very upfront feature. It's kind of a behind-the-scenes marker of progress. But in our first 3 chapters, we've learned that our protagonist, Lieutenant Ranya, was once a mech pilot, or armored frame pilot, was on a disastrous mission. Well, disastrous for her ship that she was aboard. The mission itself was a success in the end, in that the sort of colonial forces, or the independent forces of the Martian, Javian, and European colonies. Or wait, is Javian... Wait, maybe Javian just means Jupiter, doesn't it? So, Martian and Javian colonies won their conflict with Earth. Or at least drove the forces of Earth into a position of requesting truce. However, for the ship the Kalika that Lieutenant Ranya was aboard, their squadrons got ambushed by the Earth forces upon arrival at the battlefield. So most of Ranya's armored frame piloting companions died. It was just a stroke of mixed fortune and misfortune that kept Kali from being able to engage the enemy, and thus her life was spared. It was her and one other skirmisher pilot, Dalton, who managed to survive that engagement, and Dalton has held it against her ever since, that believing that she was a coward, that she intentionally held back. This was not the case, but that's what he's got, holding as a grudge. That was the backstory. Lieutenant Ranya has changed roles in the fleet, is now a security officer aboard a different vessel, the JFS Gundog. We've met all of the crew, including Dalton, and our girlfriend Cassandra, who is in operations and apparently did some behind-the-scenes maneuvering to get her and Kali assigned to the same ship and the same mission. The mission was to rendezvous with another patrol craft, the JFS O'Brien, and conduct a sweep of the area, but something has gone wrong. There is, very shortly after making contact with the O'Brien, the entirety of the Gundog's systems, both primary and backup, just went suddenly offline. Completely silent. The ship is incapacitated. No communications in or out. No ability to move, call for help, etc. That's the scene to which we arrive today. Now, the exact moment that I left off last stream was what you see here. Our thorn in our side, Dalton, was on one of the elevators when the power went out. So he is stuck in there. We are in a position to help him by forcing open the doors and getting him out. That was the option that I was leaning toward, being an honorable individual who's taking this emergency situation seriously and believes that we really could use as many hands on deck as possible in the event of enemy action being the cause of all of this. But in the interest of stream interaction and throwing some surprises into the mix, even from the streamer's point of view, I put it to a vote of chat and the Fediverse and my Discord server. And the lot of you all have, by something like a 3/4 majority, said, "Fuck Dalton, let him sit." I submit that I do this under protest, but I will abide by the democratic choice of stream chat.
Well, if it's of any balm to your much vaunted honor, Dame Armature, I can take the fall for this one. Why don't I step up and push the button?
I don't think that's quite how it works, but sure. Go ahead, Adulath, do the honors.
Don't mind if I do. I almost clicked the wrong one, but we would have just been able to load our game anyway. Leave him there. Hello, King 124. aka Horizon the Fox, among other monikers. How are you doing today?
Hold it for a second before releasing it as quietly as you can. I'm guessing that was our breath. I don't remember the exact line that we left off on last time. You step back slowly, doing your best not to let your footfalls make any sort of noise. You look around and can't make anyone else out in the area. Thinking to yourself, you rationalize that it's not as if Hansen would be much help if you let him out. At best, he'd get in the way. At worst, you might have another fight on your hands. For the time being, at least, he's probably better off where he is.
Hey!
Actually, maybe, Adulath, this is more like one of your voices. It's closer to your voice, so we'll light you up while saying Hansen's voice.
Oh, great. I get to play the asshole? Okay, sure. I know what you think of me, Dame Armature. Hey, come on! Let me out!
Alright, so, our objectives at this point are to rendezvous with the captain, who is in sickbay, and with the chief engineer, whom we don't know exactly where she is, I think, but she's probably in the engine room or in that vicinity of the ship. The captain has access codes necessary to help us reboot the central computer of the Gundog. Since that is situated in the engineering section, I think I want to get to sickbay first. See if I can talk to the captain, get the accesses, and then go from there to find the chief and the mainframe. So, sickbay is conveniently located adjacent to the central hub elevators, so it is but one step to arrive there. Oh, also worth noting that Cassie, the girlfriend, and our immediate superior officer, gotta love that workplace dynamic, is unwell somehow. When the, electronic warfare attack, or whatever it was that caused this massive outage aboard the ship, when that occurred, she was struck with what looked like a splitting headache. She, put her hands to her head, fell to her knees, and went unconscious. So she is currently incapacitated on the bridge. The captain was simply sick with some space bug even before the incident happened. That's why she was resting in sickbay when the rendezvous with the O'Brien came up.
I am going to be most displeased if they've killed off our love interest before we so much as get horizontal with her.
Well, there's some implication that we have been canoodling off shift. We just didn't see it in, narration or on screen. This is not a adults-only visual novel.
More's the pity.
The elevators are clearly out of action. I'll have to get things back up and running before I can get Cassie to the sickbay. Oh, wait, maybe the captain went to her quarters. Maybe the captain's not in the sickbay? Alright, in that case, I guess I'll go to... Our quarters are 4, I think. Yeah, crew quarters, corridor 2. Captain's quarters. Standing in front of the door to Captain Bartermew's quarters, you instinctively straighten up, sticking your chest out and your shoulders back. You know that your access card doesn't have the encoded permission to allow you to access the captain's quarters. And even if it did, the terminal to the side of the door is as lifeless as the rest of the ship. Instead, you bang forcefully on the captain's door and shout. No worries, King. Come and go as you need. Captain Bartermew's. It's Lieutenant Ranya. There's been a system failure and Commander Quinn is incapacitated. We need you to give the emergency input codes to restart the ship's central computer. After waiting for a few moments, you press your ear up against the door, seeing if you can hear any signs of life. From experience, you know that the crew quarters doors aren't as substantial as some of the other doors on the ship. It's not uncommon to know the exact schedules of other crew members based on sound alone. Captain, it's an emergency! You wait a little while longer, but still don't hear anything. Ah, damn it. Slamming your fist on the captain's door in frustration, you turn back. You'll have to figure something else out. Alright. I guess we go straight to engineering then. So for that, we need to head to the aft thoroughfare. As you leave the central hub and enter the long corridor that comprises the aft thoroughfare, the first thing you notice is the sound of your steps on the metal flooring, ringing out and echoing down the corridor. Normally, the vibrations from the engines would dull this noise, and it would be barely perceptible over their low and steady rumble. You'd gotten to the point where you didn't even notice the constant noise at this end of the ship, but now that the corridor is silent, its absence hits you. At the end of the aft thoroughfare, where the corridor would normally transition from corridor into the engineering department, instead you're met with a substantial blast door with the word engineering stenciled onto it. You run your hand over the surface before rapping on it with your knuckles. Rather than the low ring which would indicate it being relatively thin, this door returns a higher pitched noise, indicating that it's significantly thicker than normal. Is that the way it would work? Higher pitch for a thicker door? Unlike the rest of the doors on this ship, which are designed as entrances and exits, you can tell that this one exists more to block one section off from the other. You instantly dismiss any thoughts of forcing it open. It's likely that even the contents of the armory couldn't shift it. After a minute or two of fruitlessly inspecting it, you shrug to yourself. The only thing you can do right now is hope that the chief is nearby. Hey! Chief! You pound on the door with your fist, hoping that the sound makes its way through. Chief! Can you hear me? You continue to pound on the door and yell, stopping every so often to hear if there's any kind of response. Chief! I'm out here! Chief, hey! After a few minutes worth of attempting to make contact, you stop and flex the fingers on the right hand, cracking your knuckles to try and dismiss the discomfort. Given the size of the engineering department, you begin to think about how close the chief would need to be to even hear you, and the odds of that happening. Before you can resume your attempts, though, you hear a dull, repetitive thudding coming from the other side. Morse code? Chief, can you hear me? I'm out here! You call, pressing your ear up to the blast door to see if you can hear an answer. Instead, you just hear the same dull, repetitive thudding. At first, it seems random and erratic, but the longer you listen, you begin to realize there's a pattern. That's great, but what does it mean? In defeat, you slam your fist against the door one more time. Chief, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll try and find a way to get in with you. At least I know someone's in there. There's got to be some way I can get in touch with them. Send them a signal. Maybe there's something I haven't thought of yet. An emergency communication system. Something that's not tied into the ship. Think! Yes, okay. So, welcome back, King. We do have something that we were clued into, last play session. Adulath, you, with me on it?
Yeah, that, fetch quest, right? We were supposed to go replace batteries in a radio that was, in the spacesuits.
Exactly. So, our next stop is gonna have to be the airlock. As you enter, the airlock hatch door looms large in the darkness. A shiver runs through you, and you rub your forearms. Oh, hello, Roynicorn.
Good evening to you, Roy.
Yeah, I'm back? Question mark? I'm alive? I'm vigorous and creative and doing things again?
Vigorous, huh? That's an interesting choice of words.
Oh, don't read too much into it. It wasn't something you'd noticed until now, but as you feel the goosebumps that cover your skin, you realize that the ship's temperature has now dropped noticeably. I've got to find a way to get things up and running again. So, okay. This, I think, is more of a space opera sort of convention, I think, than hard sci-fi. We have this idea that space is cold, right? There's no air, and thus, it's like a sort of absolute zero, right? So if a ship were out there, you would need to keep it heated somehow to keep the crew warm. However, based on some articles that I've read, sort of theorizing what warfare might be like in space, they pointed out that heat dissipation would actually be much more difficult than keeping the ship warm. Now, I guess I don't know. Maybe this is... I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physicist. I'm not an astronaut. I'm not an astronomer. I don't know anything about space. So I'm just going off this one thing that I read and trying to remember it. So maybe heating and such are actually, a substantial problem or that the space shuttle or the Apollo missions or whatever needed to deal with. But right, exactly. Less matter and space to direct the heat towards. Yeah, the thing about heat, the way that we experience heat and cold, is the transfer of energy from one molecule to another. If it's cold outside, it's because the air around you is at a low temperature, and thus when those air particles and molecules bounce against your skin, the natural flow of heat energy goes from the higher temperature to the lower. So heat transfers away from your body to the air around you, leaving the outside air just fractionally warmer and you colder. I guess science stream now. I don't know. I would not take this as, canonically educational. This is me shooting the shit about stuff that I've read. I am, once again, not an expert. But, heat wants, in quotes, to balance out. So your body heat wants to balance with the air. Yeah, and then all of your body's sort of internal combustion, the burning of calories and so forth, acts to increase your body temperature to try to keep you alive and warm and that kind of thing. So, cold is a subjective experience of that heat transfer phenomenon. But to get back to the principal point here, in space, in a vacuum, this sort of 0-point field, there are no air molecules to bump into your spaceship and take heat away from it. So the only means for heat to escape the ship is not thermal transfer, but radiant energy, i.e. an object of a particular temperature will emit infrared spectrum radiation. That's why, thermal goggles or thermal vision can see heat. Because it's tuned into the infrared, it sees objects that emit warmth. And radiant heat dissipation is very slow. So as you're running your ship's engine and, bumbling about on the ship doing human warm body things, if, as Ranya is getting into, you don't have some way of forcibly shedding energy, heat, your ship is going to tend to heat up, not cool down. So the author of this article that was talking about warfare in space was supposing that, you're going to need giant radiators. You're going to need to have just very potent heat sink arrays to try to vent excess energy, especially if you're doing something as heat intensive as firing an energy weapon. Lasers need a lot of power. Power tends to generate a lot of heat. Yep, there you go. Adding the problem. A lot of energy likes to sort of step down to becoming heat. So their theory was that, like, you may not even need to blow up enemy ships. You might not need to strike them with a projectile to disable them. You might just need to win the battle of heat management. Get the opponent so warmed up that they can't operate anymore and have to turn everything off to not boil themselves. Which is just fascinating. Anyway, hello, Mortham. How were the tubes? The tubes?
Mortham, love. What is this interest you have in my tubes?
I cannot possibly imagine that he's referring to anything anatomical, Adulath.
Yeah, well.
Ah, the Jeffries tubes. Right. It was a brief stay in the tubes. We very quickly made our way from the bridge down to the elevators, and then have since not stepped back into the maintenance tunnels. On your recommendation, as well as that of several others in the chat and on Fetty, we've left Dalton Crwys to cool his heels in the elevator while we are wandering around.
Me, Roinicorn? This is Adulath.
Friend is... Okay, I have called Adulath my friend before. I admit it.
You love me. You can't conceal it, Ranya.
But Roinicorn, Adulath is an alternate persona. My masculine anthrocharical avatar. Depending on your theory of mind, possibly Adulath is a plural alter. I certainly refer to him that way sometimes, but it is all within the same meat body out here behind the camera.
Pleased to make your acquaintance, whatever you think of me.
But yeah, he's the flirty, innuendo-driven sex maniac of the duo here.
You wound me.
I do not.
Mortham, you think almost everyone is hot. I'm glad to know that you don't think I'm a fascist.
Got to find a way to get things up and running again. Okay. So, we are going to use the spacesuit. Emergency spacesuits for use in the event of ship depressurization, failure with the life support systems, or if the crew have to abandon ship. Hopefully I can get this solved without needing the extra air supply. Wait, I've just changed the batteries on these to make sure the radios would work in an emergency. I wonder if any of the other radios on board will pick up the signal. I bet that's what the chief was trying to tell me. Of course she'd come up with a plan like this before anyone else. Now let's see if I can reach her. You grab the handle on the suit's container and twist. The metal in your hand is noticeably colder to the touch than it was the last time you were here. Once the lock is undone, you open the door and, bracing the suit with your left hand, grab the radio with your right. As you disconnect the radio unit from the breast panel, the spiraling plastic cord that connects it to the suit comes with it. Turning the radio in your hand, you find where the cord connects and unscrew the attachment point, allowing the cable to spring back towards the suit. You quickly extend the telescoping antenna and flick the power switch, which causes the sound of whining static to fill the previously silent room. You slowly rotate the tuning dial, working your way through the frequencies until a familiar voice comes out from the tinny speaker.
An emergency broadcast from Chief Engineer Mackenzie Cathy's on the JFS Gundog to any JFS Gundog crew members or any JCF ships nearby. The Gundog has suffered a complete systems failure, and assistance is needed to get them back online. I repeat, this is an emergency broadcast from Chief Engineer Mackenzie Cathy's on the JFS Gundog to any JFS Gundog crew members or any JCF ships nearby.
You love the JSF Pew Pew Doggo. Yeah, it's a pretty cool crew. The characters are all pretty memorable. Their names are a little goofy, such that it's taken me a little while to learn some of them, but yeah, it's a fun mix.
The Gundog has suffered a complete systems failure, and assistance is needed to get them back online.
Chief, this is Lieutenant Ranya reading you loud and clear. I've managed to get an emergency radio from one of the suits in the airlock. I'm able to get around the thoroughfares and to the bridge, but I can't get anywhere else.
It took you long enough. What the hell's everyone been doing this whole time?
You're just about to push the button to send your response, but the chief cuts in.
Anyway, you're in touch now. That's what counts. You said you could get to the bridge, is that right?
That's right.
Then get back up there and get the captain to give me the input codes to access the main computer, so that I can get the ship running again.
Slight complication, Chief. The captain's taken sick. She's not on the bridge.
Classic Bartermuse. Then get back up there and get Lieutenant Commander Quinn to give me the input codes.
She's out of commission too. She collapsed at the same time the ship's power went out. You release your thumb, allowing the chief to broadcast, but where you expected a swiftly delivered alternative, all you get is radio static. Chief?
Nothing's ever easy, huh, Lieutenant? Who's currently on the bridge, then?
That'd be Lieutenant Lord.
Well, she's the commanding officer on board right now, I guess. You're going to want to get up there. I've got an idea, but it's not something I can authorize.
Your grip on the radio tightens as a sense of apprehension grows within you. You don't know what the chief has in mind, but if it requires the authority of the ship's senior officer, you know that it's got to be something dangerous. Realizing you've been holding your breath since the chief's last message, you breathe out and push the button on the radio side to send your message. Copy that, Chief. Heading up there now. Radio in hand, you quickly make your way back from the airlock into the central hub, heading straight for the maintenance crawlway. Before you reach it, you hear Hansen call out from the nearby partially open elevator.
Hey! Come on! Who's out there? Help me out!
You pause for a second. You'd completely forgotten about Hansen's predicament since you found the radio. When you'd last left him, it had felt like just desserts, but now it's beginning to seem cruel. You pause, well aware that you don't have time to waste. You take a deep breath and... Well, chat, we've got a second chance. Do we, let Hansen out after all? To see if he'll help us with whatever plan the chief has got in mind? Or do we keep letting him sit because he's an asshole and he'd probably be more trouble than he is help?
We are the Gundog, after all. This dog should stick to its guns. Leave him.
Well, I think we could use the help. This is an emergency situation, and it's our duty as a member of the crew to assist other crew members in distress. So, your and my votes cancel one another out. It's up to chat. Okay, oh yeah, sure, Runicorn. I can bring you up to speed. I don't know if you saw the little blurb that I put on Mastodon yesterday, but Hansen was our comrade in arms on a previous ship that our main character flew. At that point, she and Hansen were pilots, armored frame pilots in the same squadron. And there was this disastrous engagement where only Hansen and Ranya of their squad survived. Hansen, despite the... Okay. This was... The reason that Ranya survived was because she didn't get to join the battle because of a mechanical malfunction of her docking clamps. But Hansen blames her for the incident. He says that she was a coward, that she held back, and that if she had joined the fray, the outcome of the fight had been different. So, over the last 4 years, he has been a thorn in her side, mocking her, calling her a coward, generally just trying to antagonize her whenever they cross paths. So, he's just a kind of a narrow-sighted jerk. But he is the chief pilot. He is still a, armored frame marine on board the JFS Gundog, so... You tend to be one for second chances. Yeah, it's been 4 years. The guy still hasn't, come around at all. He's still hung up on it. And he is currently stuck in a jammed elevator. That we have the right leverage to get him out, but he does not have the capacity to free himself right now with the power outage and the situation he's in. Maybe we can mend the relationship at least a bit. You think that if we extend a helping hand here, that maybe he will start to come around? Certainly, leaving a crew member to sit in, a downed elevator prison doesn't exactly fight his image of us of a coward, right? That kind of plays into that. Well, Hansen doesn't know that we're there. Hansen knows that somebody is out there, can hear our footsteps, but doesn't know that it's me. So we might get away with it. Though, if Hansen, calls us on it later, we'd have to lie, right? Yeah. Chance being Hansen will still blame us. I mean, we've only had a couple of scenes with him. It's really only just played up what an asshole he is, so I suspect that he will find some way to be pissed off about it no matter what we do. But leaving him is definitely more piss-off worthy than, extending a hand. You say leave him? Okay, so your Christian morals say leave him, King. love your enemies, be kind to those who persecute you, except this asshole. Well, chat is also tied. Alright, well. So, it's either I could just do streamer's prerogative and break the tie, or I could put it to fate and like flip a coin. Coin flip, yes. Alright, I actually have a coin. Oh, Mortham's gonna ask his brother. Get the brother in the chat, okay. Pardon the unannounced AFK there. I heard a noise from the other room, and yep, turns out the dog was destroying things again. Okay. 15-year-old little brother says, leave him. Alright. We will stick to it. Against... I do this under, under duress. No, not actually duress, but...
Look, if you really cared that much, you wouldn't even put it up to a vote.
Yes. Hold it. Okay. Okay, so that was all. Okay. With no more time to waste, you quickly head back to the crawlway. It only takes you a moment of groping around in the darkness to find a ladder rung before you're on your way back up to the bridge. As you climb, each rung that you grip is cold to the touch, and the air that you breathe has a brisk chill to it. You know what this means, but for the time being decide to push that thought out of your head. You've got other things to focus on. At least I do have a saved game exactly at that decision point from earlier, so if I want to explore what the other branch of the story is like, I can, give it a look off stream or something. Besides, you know, the way they're giving you multiple chances at it and all this, you've got to know that most players probably help the guy, and the, less likely option probably, you know, gets us on a path to a better ending. Us turning into an asshole gets a better ending? You never know. Game designers are strange people. Hey, I'm a game designer. Not video games, not anymore. Psh. Okay. The climb up seems a lot shorter than your original climb down, and you soon emerge back on the bridge. Vanessa swivels in her chair and paces over to you. So, did you get in touch with anyone? Kind of. You bring the radio up to your face so that the microphone is level with your mouth, and press the push-to-talk button with your thumb. Chief, I'm back on the bridge with Lieutenant Lord. Releasing the button, you walk past Vanessa, handing the radio over to her before heading towards Cassie. Vanessa looks from you to the radio with mild bewilderment before the chief's voice sounds out from the speaker.
Lieutenant Lord, this is Chief Engineer Cathy's. Do you read?
As you kneel down by Cassie to check her pulse and temperature, as well as doing your best to tuck your jacket around her, the way the chief addresses Vanessa catches your attention. You hadn't heard the chief being that deferential towards anyone, even the captain.
I hear you, Chief Cathy's.
Captain Bartomuse and Commander Quinn are both incapacitated, so I'm in command of the gun dog until such a time as they can return to duty, understood? You frown slightly hearing Vanessa assert her position over the chief like that. Although she is the ranking officer in this situation, you'd not heard anyone on board pull rank in that way, especially on the chief, who you were under the impression enjoyed the respect of everyone on board, including Hansen and Haru.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, have you got a plan, Chief Cathy's? Or has Lieutenant Ranya brought me this radio so we can have a chat about how nothing's working on your end either? As you stand and turn to face Vanessa, you catch the last few moments of a distasteful look she'd been making at you whilst your back was turned, and do your best to bite your tongue.
Yes, ma'am. Lieutenant Ranya has explained to me that both the captain and Commander Quinn are out of action. So I'm aware neither one of them will be able to give me the input codes required to reactivate the central computer.
We know that, Cathy's. What's the solution?
The only hope we've got right now is that the captain has copies of the documents that contain the access codes in her quarters. If someone can get in there, then they can get the codes and tell them to me, letting me reactivate the ship's systems.
If we'd been able to get into the captain's quarters, we'd have done that already. The whole ship's in lockdown and there's no way to get in there. You notice the slightest pause before the chief responds. You could be projecting, but you get the impression that she's just as fed up as you are.
Not quite, ma'am. Although all the terminals and most of the hardware on the ship is dependent on the central computer, we've got a tool that we use when something needs to be disconnected from the system. We use it for maintenance or debugging, the PST, or Portable Subterminal. It's effectively a standalone power pack with a microcomputer built in that provides enough power to activate the hardware attached to a terminal. It'll let us get into the captain's quarters, and then from there we can get the codes to start the computer back up.
So, where is this PST?
It's in the hangar.
We can't get in the hangar either. I know you're stuck in engineering, Cathy's, but the story's the same for the entire ship. Another silence follows, longer this time. That's true if you're trying to get to the hangar from inside the ship, ma'am. But the gun dog has two entrances that can be activated entirely manually. The main onboarding airlock and the hangar crew airlock. If someone left the ship via the onboarding airlock, they could make their way to the crew airlock for the hangar and re-enter there. Then they could get the PST and make their way through the ship as normal. I see. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chief Engineer Cathy's, but aren't yourself and Cadet Grange the only crew on board qualified for extravehicular activity in space? And you're currently stuck in engineering, whilst we can't get in contact with Cadet Grange to just bring us the PST.
Yes, ma'am.
You begin to feel a knot in your gut and internally curse at Dalton for not having picked up enough of the Chief's know-how to have found an emergency radio of his own. Dalton is the cadet engineer. I may have accidentally said Dalton when I meant Hansen earlier. At least a tickle in my brain is suggesting that maybe I got those two mixed up at some point, but Dalton is kind of anxious and bumbling, but a cutie. Hansen is an absolute jackass. And policy dictates that all EVA needs to be commanded by an operations officer. The knot in your stomach tightens as you take a deep breath in. Vanessa's eyes are now locked on you.
Yes, ma'am.
The slightest hint of a smile forms on Vanessa's face.
Well, Lieutenant, looks like you're going for a walk.
You'd seen this coming as soon as the chief had begun outlining the plan, but you'd been hoping that there'd be some extra part that hadn't been revealed yet, something that would allow you to stay on board. Faced with Vanessa's directness, the knot in your stomach tightens further. A sense of nausea rises from your gut. Yeah, our protagonist is got some PTSD from her disastrous tour aboard the Kalika was the name of the ship. EVA is likely to bring up some bad memories. Okay, this one I don't think there's a question on. We gotta do the adventure thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know that Vanessa would let us wriggle out of this one even if we tried. Let's, be brave.
Some people took well to spacewalks. Some even enjoyed them so much they'd take on careers in colony construction and repair, or they'd spend more time in the vacuum of space than they did inside the colony or on ships. You were not one of those people. You'd only ever left the confines of a ship or colony a few times in your life, and almost all of those had been evacuation drills that you'd been through in school or during citizenry courses. On every occasion that you could remember, you'd reacted badly, but managed to keep it to yourself.
And yet she went and became a mech pilot?
I don't know, maybe the mechs are big enough that it's more like being aboard a small ship rather than being on a spacewalk in a suit?
Maybe?
Something about being out in the void, an attachment clip or handrail away from drifting off into the endless nothingness of space, had always filled you with dread. Yeah, maybe that's the fact. At least the mechs have their own propulsion and so on and so forth. You're a little less naked in an armored frame than in a spacesuit.
Is that why you like to wear armor, Ranya? Because you feel naked without it?
I'm not going to entertain any conversation about nakedness with you, Karagai. The knowledge that you were a slip away from disappearing forever, irretrievable and helpless. But, despite all that, you knew full well from Vanessa's discussion with the chief that there was not going to be any way around doing this, and right now you were this ship's, Cassie's, only hope. As much as you hated the thought of it, you pushed back against the fear that had been rising up inside you. Taking a deep breath, you resigned yourself to what you had to do. Fine, I'll do it. The chief can walk me through everything that I need to know on my way over to the airlock. The dashing security officer diving headfirst into danger. Isn't she great, Lieutenant Commander Quinn? So selfless. Vanessa rolls her eyes, covering her mouth with the back of her hand and putting on a mocking tone. Oh, my hero. So brave, going into space to save us. Only you can... You snatch the radio off Vanessa and turn your back on her, heading towards the maintenance crawlway. At this point, you've had just about all you can take of her, so the sooner the situation is resolved, you decide, the sooner you can go back to avoiding her. Oh, quit making a big deal of this with all your huffing and puffing, Lieutenant Ranya. From what I've heard, hanging out in space is something of a pastime of yours. If we're gonna be sarcastic about it, do it yourself, Vanessa. Right? Why wouldn't she? Uh-oh, flashback time. With that comment, you feel like your heart's dropped out of your chest. You quickly spin back to face Vanessa. Lieutenant? Reining in the flash of anger you just felt, you silently shake your head as you turn back around and grab a hold of the first rung of the crawlway's ladder. Chief, I'm on my way to the airlock now. Walk me through what I need to know. Wait! With one hand still on the ladder's rung, you pause and turn around. Yes, Lieutenant Lord? You just about managed to ask through gritted teeth. There's that just about managed trying to phrase that again. Just moments of a little bit awkward writing. Gundog Dev Team, hire me to be your editor. Line editor, copy editor. I can tune your sentences, I can fix your typos. I don't need to take control of the story, I just want to fix your bizarre turns of phrase. Don't you think you're forgetting something? Doing your best to suppress the urge to scream that you can feel building inside your chest, you pause for a moment and stare at Lieutenant Lord, trying to puzzle out what kind of mind game she's playing. Lieutenant Lord, if there's... Before you've finished, Vanessa rolls her eyes and turns on her heels, walking back over to Cassandra and squatting down. You almost yell out when Vanessa lays her hand on Cassie's hip, but you stop when you see her withdraw a keycard from Cassie's skirt pocket. Holding it between her thumb and forefinger with a flourish, she waves it at you as she stands up and walks back over to you. The central computer can only be accessed by the captain or members of operations. Good luck getting in there without this. Vanessa casually tosses you the card, which you grab out of the air. You got Cassandra's keycard. You turn the card over in your hand a few times before pocketing it. But the chief said that the PST used its battery power to open... I can see what you and her see in each other. As if hooking a battery up to a door would get you around the ship's security systems. You're still going to need to have the right authority levels to get through. Honestly. With a surname like Lord, you really can't have a low-ranking position, right?
Yeah. Some of us even hold on to their old rank and title even when they don't want them anymore, just for the cachet of the name.
At this point, your jaw is clenched so hard it feels like your teeth may crack at any second. But with the cold chill of the ladder rung reminding you just how dire the situation is getting, you turn back around. Thank you, Lieutenant. You just about manage. Still there, Chief? I'm heading to the airlock now. You're happy your family dropped the noble title?
See, I never got to have a noble title. My father gave me the second, gave me his name and kept me on as the second Adulath Karakai, but we weren't ever a noble family. I would have to, I don't know, be, married into a noble adventuring house?
Good lord, Karakai. Have you got the Oh, this is the chief. Have you got the radio coming through the helmet speakers, Lieutenant? The chief's voice fills your helmet, the sound quality somehow worse than the speaker on the main radio unit itself. Loud and clear, Chief. You respond, securing the radio onto the suit's breast panel.
You've got the emergency suit on and sealed?
Yeah, currently breathing in the suit's oxygen supply. What now?
Do you see the access panel next to the internal airlock hatch?
The spacesuit's helmet is attached to the rest of the suit in a fixed position, so although you turn your head to check, all you can see is the helmet's interior. You turn your whole body in an exaggerated motion to look for the emergency access panel and spot it on the other side of the hatch. I see it, Chief. I'm heading over now.
Alright, you'll need to remove the panel in the same way that you did the one on the bridge. Once you've got it off, you'll see a large handle. Cranking that lever operates the manual override that will open the hatch to the airlock.
Understood. Although you'd had to learn to operate the airlock manually in basic training, you didn't feel that now was the time to dismiss the Chief and act like a know-it-all. She was likely getting her fill of that from Lieutenant Lord. Alright, so, use the access panel. You kneel down by the panel and attempt to find the gap between its edge and the surrounding wall. This is made a lot harder by the thick material of your suit. After a few attempts to find it, the tips of your gloves catch in the recess. You work your digits in more until you find a catch that you can squeeze. The panel falls away from the wall and you take hold of it, placing it to the side. Underneath is a long handle marked Emergency Use Only. Alright, that's the access panel out the way. I see the handle.
Good. Now you're going to want to turn it counterclockwise and keep going until the hatch is open.
Understood. We've seen these on, when I played Alien Isolation on stream. There's teeny tiny mini game to crank open these emergency panels. Like a sort of quick time event, I guess. Placing your left hand at the bottom of the handle and your right hand at the top, you apply as much force as you can to push it clockwise. Your initial heave barely moves it despite your effort. Come on. You grip the handle again and place your entire body weight behind your effort to shift it. This time it moves more noticeably, but when you look at the airlock hatch, it doesn't appear to have opened at all. You would not survive Alien Isolation and really hope your friend people don't get the idea of making you play it. You're not one for jump scares and horror in your video games, Unicorn? Too great an anxiety trigger, huh? Had trouble sleeping after Dread X Collection they made you play. I don't know that one. So, remind me, Unicorn, what is, and maybe for the benefit of the others in chat who are following along with the conversation, what is a friend person as opposed to a friend? Because other than, I don't know, dogs and cats and other such pet creatures, most folks don't have friends that aren't people? So, what does friend person mean again? With another grunt, you push the lever the full 90 degrees, allowing it to return to its neutral position. Although it still resists you, you're able to feel the ratchet mechanism begin to move. Nothings. You push the handle 90 degrees again before letting it reset. You adjust your grip and push the handle again. Easy. You complain through gritted teeth as you feel the mechanism slowly, but surely, moving a little bit each time. As you carry on this process of straining against the mechanism, you complete crank after crank. You can hear the mechanism of the airlock groan and strain with each turn. Eventually, something gives and the mechanisms in the airlock uncouple, releasing their locks, and the whole thing slides open. Has to do with the whole not understanding the word friend fully. Maybe also my best friend of all time having been a dog and not a person. Okay. So, don't really understand yourself half the time. So probably a friend person is what most of us would consider a friend anyway. But you decide to complicate the term so that people know that your relationship to the term friend is fraught. Okay. So, Roinicorn, am I a friend person of yours? Most would use the word friend, probably. That's kind of what I was gathering. Alright. There goes the inner set of airlock doors. You can feel the sweat on your brow and curse that you'd put the suit on beforehand, preventing you from wiping it off. Okay, Chief. I'm heading into the airlock chamber. What's next? You'll see a similar panel on the opposite end of the hatch inside the chamber. Same deal, but in reverse. Makes sense. Okay. Once inside the airlock chamber, you spot an identical access panel and quickly get to work. Unfortunately, it's just as hard to close the hatch as it was to open it. Interior hatch is closed. Now what? You try to keep your breathing under control as the inside of your helmet begins to heat up, reminding you of another reason you've never been fond of them. What you're going to need to do next will be to vent the air in the chamber and then open the exterior hatch. To start with, the Chief walks you step by step through the processes required. Although you remember most of this from training, you're thankful for the help as a few parts had slipped your mind. You carry on following the Chief's orders until, with one final monumental heave, you get the external hatch open. You step away from the lever and head over to the opening. You're honestly a bit stun-locked by that question, but think by how often people have asked, you would get easier answering. Well, you don't have to. If it's uncomfortable, I'm just, being a little bit cute and making conversation. I am happy to relinquish the inquiry if it is, more than you can handle in this moment. Seeing the stars in front of you rather than through a terminal or view screen fills you with the familiar dread you'd felt on the bridge. Alright, Chief, I'm heading out. Pressing firmly on a switch on the suit's breast panel, you hear a momentary high-pitched whine as the soles of the boots are drawn towards the airlock floor. With the electromagnets now active, each step is an effort, but at least you know you won't go hurtling into space. Much though some of us would sometimes like to eject Ranya out the airlock. Oh, Adulath, you don't hate me that much. Wait, what's going on with my... what did I do? My expressions are out of sync. Okay. Scared off. Okay, now I'm back to normal. I must have bumped the mischief button somehow. The mischievous look. That's what was going wrong. Okay, I'm supposed to be scared right now. We're going into space. Well, I mean, you invented the term friend person to get you out of that. So surely you have to be the person who decides whether anyone is a friend person or not, right? It is your personal label for a particular sort of relationship. I'm just wondering if I've earned that spot or not. You are the decider. There is no wrong answer. You place one foot right on the edge of the airlock hatch and stare out into the emptiness. You see nothing but stars, with light years of gulf between them and you. With your next step, you head out into the nothingness, pivoting on the axis of your foot at the edge of the airlock. I mean... there are a number of things that you can defer to other people, but placing a label on a relationship is requires decision from both parties. It is a matter of mutual consent. I cannot declare for you that we are friends. I can consider you a friend from my end, but I can't make that decision for you. No. It is entirely a subjective, internal matter of Roinicorn's worldview, whether I am a friend person, a Granfalloon, or something else.
Oh, a what now?
Granfalloon. It's a term from Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. Granfalloon, that's not the person name, is it? Hang on. Granfalloon. I may have gotten the term wrong. Oh, the Granfalloon is a group of people. So that's not the word I'm thinking of. What is the word I'm thinking of? Okay, maybe there isn't any. I was thinking of the right term, but I'd forgotten that Granfalloon was a group rather than a single person. Anyway. The step that you took into space brings your foot back down on the Gundog's exterior hull. Oh, right. And what a Granfalloon actually means is it's a group of people who have sort of invented a metaphysical connection between themselves. It's not a true connection. It's just something they kind of decided binds them together. For example, like Americans, or these kind of things based on accident of birth and political borders. That sort of thing is a Granfalloon. It's this kind of meaningless human arbitrary clumping that doesn't have anything to do with the destinies of the people involved. Rain has not come to save you, Unicorn. Rain is still not your friendship secretary who gets to decide who is part of your network or not. Even though the ship had fallen silent since its power had been knocked offline, that hadn't been true silence. There'd been the echo of your footsteps, the almost inaudible sounds of things other crew members were doing in the far-off reaches of the ship. Out here, all you could hear was your own breathing and the whine of the magnets. You take a moment to orient yourself, I refuse to say orientate, and turn 90 degrees to your right, angling yourself towards the front of the ship. The high and mighty Lady Ranya, insisting on proper English. Aren't you the one who always says that language is not prescriptive, that things will mutate as they care to? Plenty of people say orientate. But it's inefficient. It's a whole nother syllable for no reason. People will understand me just fine if I say orient. It's alright, Unicorn. We can move on to some other topic of conversation. I've not declared anything. Well, okay. I suppose in a okay. No, I take that back. Inviting you in as an ally of Castle Ranya is a gesture of friendship. So that you. From my end, The offer is there, we'll put it that way. But just as one cannot simply declare that, oh yeah, you're my girlfriend now, or, you know, you and I are partners, you and I are you know, whatever, like, I can't just say, Unicorn, you're my friend now, get over it. No, I don't think it really works that way. If you don't want to be my friend, then you don't have to be. With a little difficulty, you bring one foot up and away from the hall and place it back down in front of you. A friend person's girlfriend has simply declared you the second girlfriend. That's a little sketchy. I would hope that they're joking, but I have actually met somebody who did that. Who was kind of like romantically interested in me and thereby just sort of internally decided that I and the other members of my polycule were also their girlfriend. It caused some drama later on when this came to light, because the expectations involved in being a girlfriend were starting to come to bear, and the people involved didn't even know that those expectations were in place. So yeah, don't do that. Slowly but steadily, you make your way towards the hangar airlock. Still with us, Lieutenant Ranya? Haven't gone hurtling off into space or anything? You roll your eyes as you plod forwards. Still here, Lieutenant Lord. Good, good. What's your ETA on the hangar airlock? You quickly do some rough maths around what you know about the gun dog's dimensions. Airlock's around the midpoint of the ship, 250 meters long, about 5 minutes, Lieutenant. Oh, now we're good enough to use meters.
Well, you know, it's formal versus informal, right? When you're eyeballing a elevator door, you think in inches. When you're talking to your superior officer in an emergency situation, you use meters, I guess.
You probably couldn't tell a meter from a yard if they were put in front of you.
There's only a few things in life whose length I care about.
I'm sure. This isn't a Sunday afternoon stroll at the replica gardens, Ranya. Pick up the pace. You allow yourself the opportunity to curse openly at Vanessa before hitting the push-to-talk button again. Yes, ma'am. You carry on the laborious march to the hangar's crew airlock, slowly heaving 1 foot at a time away from the ship's hull before placing it back down in front of you. There are a few awkward areas where the ship's hull rises or falls, and you have to navigate your way across them. The loss of a constant bearing begins to disorient you, but you march onward, ensuring that you're heading consistently in a straight line regardless of orientation. You need a mathematical formula. Can't be done. Eventually, you see the distinct markings that indicate an airlock hatch in the distance. Although it's marked in the same way as the one you'd emerged from, this one is much smaller, scarcely bigger than the typical doorway inside of the gun dog. You enjoy a momentary celebration, then pick up the pace. All right, Chief, I'm at the hangar crew airlock. Okay, if you look to the right of the door, you should see an access panel with a lever underneath, just like the others. Okay, let's see. Due to your orientation from standing on the ship's hull, the airlock entryway is laid out at your feet. You shift yourself to be able to look to the right and see the panel which you head over to and squat down in front of, running your fingers around its edges to find the now familiar recess. With a practiced movement, you undo the clip. Unlike the panels inside the ship that freely come away, this one swings on a hinge, revealing the lever underneath. Hopefully this should be easier on a smaller hatch. You mutter to yourself, reaching for the lever. Chief? What is it? It's the lever. You run your hand a few more times over the lever, which is visible, but inlaid into the hull, perfectly level with its surroundings. Whereas you've been able to remove the panel cover by finding the recess, there is nothing like that here, making grasping the lever impossible. I can't get any purchase on it. It's completely flush with the hull. There's no way to grip it. Chief? Lieutenant Lord, do you know what the current security code is? Of course I don't. They're like the emergency input codes. Only the captain or the second-in-command knows them. Why? Chief Engineer Cathays, I asked you a question. There's a moment of radio static, but you can hear the chief's sigh through the crackle and distortion. In order to gain entry to an airlock from outside, you need to input the ship's security code into the number pad. It's an analog locking mechanism, but you still need that code. God damn it! No, we actually know the code from the first session of the game. I'm pretty sure we'll reveal that in just a moment here. God damn it, god damn it, god damn it! God damn you, miserable excuse for a captain! God damn you, Quinn, you absolute airheaded... Hey, watch yourself, Lord. Oh, shut up, Ranya! Because of your stupid bimbo girlfriend deciding that now's a great time to take a nap, I'm stuck on a dead ship running out of air, trying to herd you knuckleheads around on stupid pointless errands. Stow it! I'm not a big fan of this either, but right now we're the best hope this ship's got. So if you could put a lid on the gigantic bitch act for 5 minutes and help us figure out how to solve this, we can... How dare you? I said stow it. 5 minutes, Lieutenant Lord, then once I'm on board, I can handle the rest of it myself. Then you can go back to pretending you're the most important crew member. This is insubordination. I'll have... Alright, you two, that's enough. Both you and Vanessa snap into silence with the chief's interjection. Before either of you can start up again, she carries on in a commanding tone. Lieutenant Lord, do you know how long the security code is? Do you know the punishment for addressing a senior officer like that? No, ma'am, I do not. But if it gets Lieutenant Ranya on board any sooner, I'll say it's worth it. Do you know how long it is? It's 4 digits. Thank you. Now, do you have any idea? Of course I don't have any idea. It's Quinn's responsibility to generate and set those kinds of codes. Oh, by the way, if you ever want access to my quarters, the passcode for the lock is our anniversary. It's pretty much the same passcode I use for everything. I think I might know it. Yeah, 4 digits is pretty... Like, you do want it to be something that can be memorized, but 4 digits, yeah, it's a bit... This ship's security practices are not the tightest. It's very much a, adventure game or visual novel level of security. What? I said I think I might know it. You rack your brain trying to remember the date where you and Cassie first visited the Europa amusement park. It was... You quickly punch in the 4-digit security code and then hit the enter key. As soon as you do, the lever rises out of its recess. Aha! Yes! You've got it, Lieutenant? Yeah, it was 0211, in case that helps. And how did you know what the security code was? That is sensitive information. You don't want to tell Vanessa the reason you were able to guess the code, that it was yours and Cassie's anniversary, so instead you scramble for a lie. It's, the passcode for Lieutenant Commander Quinn's quarters. I can't believe it. These codes are supposed to be secure. How could she... For the time being, Lieutenant Lord, how about we just focus on the fact that I'm able to get into the hangar? Shifting your position away from the number pad, you squat down by the raised lever. Taking it in both hands, you find it much easier to crank than the ones on the main airlock, and in no time at all, the exterior hatch of the airlock is open. As you step inside the ship, you find yourself in a chamber almost identical to the airlock you'd left earlier, with the exception that it was much smaller. Moving quickly now, you close the exterior hatch behind you, and follow the inverse process you'd carried out to leave the ship, pressurizing the chamber with oxygen and opening the internal hatch.
So, the lesson that I'm taking away from this entire episode is that one should always give one's significant other the sensitive passwords to one's intimate spaces. It might just save your and the crew's life.
Yeah, let's go with that. In a few short minutes, you're back inside the familiar space of the ship's hangar, and you remove your helmet, happy to be breathing something other than the suit's oxygen supply. You then disengage the electromagnets before removing the suit completely, making sure to take the radio with you. Now unencumbered by its bulk, and in the low gravity of the hangar, you gently drift towards the equipment storage, the uneasy silence surrounding you. None of that's doing me any good right now. I'll have to look through the crates by hand. Oh, right, that must be the equipment that's used to move around, but it would need power. The armored frames are powered by an internal generator, so they're one of the few things on the ship that still work. Not much use, though, since they'd need to tear their way out of the hangar to get anywhere. Tools, equipment, and supplies. The portable sub-terminal that the chief mentioned should be in there somewhere. I guess I should get looking. And by looking, I mean using. Any chance we can trap Lieutenant Lord in an elevator? Yeah. Query still being processed. You may kill the operation at any time, Rhinocorn. Let's see. If that PST is going to be anywhere, it'll be in amongst all the stowed equipment and gear, so... In the darkness, the collection of stacked or suspended crates, containers, and various pieces of heavy machinery looms intimidatingly. Looking from container to container, you realize that none of them are marked in a way that makes any sense to the uninitiated. Shaking your head, you reach for the radio to ask the chief where you'd be able to find it. Before you can call her, you hear the rustle of a jumpsuit's fabric behind you, moments before a wavering voice demands, "Stop right there! Intruder! Identify yourself!" Or, Adulath, since Dalton is vaguely masculine, would you like to, voice Dalton?
I'll pass.
You raise your hand slowly, being careful not to make any sudden movements. Dalton had done surprisingly well to get the drop on you, and if he was under the impression you were the enemy, he should be armed to confront you like this. At ease, Cadet. It's me, Lieutenant Ranya. Oh, Lieutenant. I'm sorry, I thought that... Turning around slowly, hands still raised, you smile. Don't worry about it. You did good to sneak up on me like that. If I was the enemy... Pausing mid-sentence, you sigh as you realize that Dalton isn't actually holding a firearm. Cadet, where's your weapon?
Ma'am?
If I had been the enemy, what were you planning on making me do without a weapon for encouragement? Dalton pauses briefly and you see realization flash in his eyes.
Sorry. I didn't think that... Well, I thought that...
Which is... Ease up, Dalton. When this is all sorted out, we'll go over anti-boarding procedures, okay?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Although, what exactly is going on, Lieutenant? I was just finishing up something when all the power went out. I haven't been able to get in touch with anyone.
It takes you a few minutes, but you quickly fill Dalton in on the events taking place on board the ship, including your current objective of obtaining the portable sub-terminal.
The emergency soup radios. Why didn't I think of that? The chief's gonna be so mad. She was teaching me suit maintenance just last week.
Hey, take it easy, Cadet. No one else on the ship figured it out on their own either, so don't beat yourself up over it.
I guess.
So don't worry about that. What we need to do now is to find the PST, Pacific Standard Time. Do you know where it is? Wait, no. It's roughly 2 hours from before Ranya time zone.
I think so. Let me look.
With a kick against the container next to him, Dalton propels himself towards a set of smaller crates. Once he arrives, you watch as he opens one, rummages through various bits of electronic-adjacent-looking hardware, which he fastidiously replaces, before closing the lid and moving on to the one next to it. It takes the cadet checking a few different storage crates before eventually he withdraws a device the size of a briefcase. With it firmly in hand, he slowly drifts back towards you, presenting it once back. See, towards is another one, like... The S is unnecessary. You could just say toward. At least it doesn't add an entire extra syllable like orientate, though.
Yes. The inner workings of Ranya's nitpicking. The method behind the stick-up-the-ass madness.
Is it even a method?
Maybe I shouldn't have implied that.
Here we go, Lieutenant. Oh, excuse me, Dalton.
Here we go, Lieutenant. This is what you're after.
You got a portable sub-terminal. Stuck-up madness.
Oh, believe me, Ranya makes it a thing.
So this is the portable sub-terminal, huh? You take the hefty device from Dalton and turn it over a few times to investigate it from different angles. The exterior is largely one off-white plastic shell with the handle attached, allowing you to carry it like a briefcase. The one visible seam that runs around the entire casing has 2 conspicuous clasps that you release, causing part of the device to fold out, revealing a keyboard alongside various screens, buttons, disk drives, and withdrawable cables. Alright, Cadet, can you give me the quick rundown of how to use this? Chaotic lawful. Oh dear. See, no, like, if you add chaotic and lawful, you just become neutral. Which is indeed where I tend to land. If I'm to commit to the dubious ethical axes of Dungeons and Dragons, chaos and law versus good and evil, I land neutral good. I used to be lawful good in my Crusader Knight days, but after divorcing myself from the injustices of church and crown, I have broken with that ethos and step down to neutral, choosing law or chaos as fits the needs of a more of an internal code of justice.
But once again, you still call yourself the Dame Armiger.
It's a cool title. Confused neutral.
Yes, ma'am. I guess the entry to the thoroughfare would be a good place to try it out.
Sounds better than going for another walk outside the ship. Let's go. The two of you make your way through the hangar and up the flights of stairs that lead to the four-side thoroughfare. Once at the top, you're faced with the unyielding set of double doors.
Okay, ma'am. First, you need to take the cable from the PST and connect it to the underside of the terminal next to whichever door you want to open. After that, you turn the device on. If you do that now, I'll show you the rest once it's active.
Portable subterminal. Following Dalton's instructions, you kneel by the terminal and withdraw the cable from the device. It's awkward in the darkness, but you eventually connect the cable to a port on the bottom of the terminal. Once you got the subterminal connected, you can use it in the same way you would the normal terminal. Just select the right function from the menu and insert your keycard into the slot when it requests you to. Give it a try now. Alright, let's see. Using the small keyboard, you select the Override Open function and then, as Dalton advised, insert your keycard. As expected, although slightly slower than you'd like, the door opens, allowing access to the four-side thoroughfare. Great work, Cadet. All I need to do now is to get this to the captain's quarters, then to engineering, and we'll have the gun dog back up and running in no time. Huh? You okay there, Cadet? As I understand it, good is willing to cause harm to oneself or one's loved ones to aid another. Evil is willing to cause harm to another to aid oneself or one's. Maybe. It's been defined different ways from one edition to the next. But, yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, I just forgot that you had to go get the codes from the captain's quarters. Isn't that against the rules or insubordination or something? I thought that it was forbidden to go into the captain's quarters unless explicitly instructed for duty.
You sigh as Dalton shakily removes the cable from the terminal underside and closes the lid on the PST. Chaos, contrarian, stemming from a desire to not be controlled by others. Yeah, and I'm just way too agreeable to be truly chaotic.
That's alright. I got that part covered.
Yeah, I guess you'd just be chaotic horny.
I'd own that.
Drow thief going from chaotic evil as a selfish rogue caring only for herself to a chaotic good cleric. Ah, that is a classic Drow arc, isn't it? Technically, yes. But right now, the choice is insubordination or we all suffocate in the vacuum of space. Also, I have been ordered to do this by the acting commanding officer of the ship, so Dalton, you can chill. It's gonna be fine. But don't worry about it. I'm sure the captain will understand why I had to do it. Besides, I've always wanted to see what their quarters look like, so I'd say it's worth it, right? I guess. You place a hand on Dalton's shoulder and take the terminal from him. Anyway, you take it easy here. Try to raise the chief on the radio, see if she's got anything for you to do. I've got to get moving.
Yes, ma'am.
With that, you give Dalton the casual salute, and in return he throws a rigid formal salute back at you. Smiling to yourself, you head through the now open double doors and into the thoroughfare. Okay. Dog has been quiet today, but I could use a short stream break. I'm gonna maybe make some coffee, get myself a small snack, and I'm gonna be back in a few minutes. Until then, friends, take a break yourself if you like, stretch your legs, get some hydration, and if you're still tuned in, enjoy some copyright-free soundtrack while I am away. Oh dear, okay. Yeah, it's the conversation about the alignment system has continued while I was away. I decided not to make coffee because I actually already had a bottle of iced tea at hand. I forgot about that. But I did get myself a granola bar, some yogurt. I had breakfast, but I just needed a little bit of extra fortification. Working my way through the stream here. Thank you, King. Yeah, one thing occurred to me while I stepped away, that the way that the good and evil alignments here are being hashed out is not unlike the sort of morality scale of one of my favorite niche role-playing games from the 90s, In Nomine, which is about angels and demons contesting with one another for the fate of humanity. And the angelic ethos is about selflessness, and the demonic ethos is about selfishness. And if you go with a little bit more of a gray or less black and white view of it, it is necessary to be at least a little bit selfish, right? To not be, what would be, to not sort of subsume yourself into the desires and needs and pressures of others, right? So that the demons maybe serve a very important purpose in keeping humanity from getting too ideologically one note or whatever. Yeah, if you're too selfless, you won't have enough to continue being selfless for long. Yeah, you'll just kind of burn yourself out. You'll neglect your own needs to the point where, you go kaput.
We came up with a version of me for In Nomine back in the day. I forget. I mean, obviously, I served the Demon Prince of Lust, but I forget which flavor, which band of demon I was. Was I a Balseraph? I think it was Balseraph. I would need to go back and flip through them again to see what all the different ones are like. I feel like back when we were playing that game that, yes, we might have lined you up as a Balseraph, but I don't know, you're not that much of a liar. Only when I need to get out of trouble from, doing something undesirable with someone's significant other, right?
Well, I guess maybe that's enough. What even was the ones that are the most, that are about relationships and connections between humans? God, I need to crack that book again, get it off the shelf, and refamiliarize myself with all the different splats. Character concept for a paladin, fully lawful good, serving a devil of lust, basically trying to help and heal with lust. Sexual healing. Alright, yeah, sure. I mean, if Dungeons and Dragons goodness and law are to make any sense whatsoever, then sexuality has to be in there somewhere, right? It might not necessarily, like, one could hope that there could be a lawful good structure of sex and sexuality that doesn't necessarily mean it would be a, you know, faux Christian purity and monogamy setup, right? It doesn't have to be that. But the Lord is abusing the farmers, just get them in the bedroom together? I don't think that's gonna help. No, please don't put the farmers in that situation. Safe, sane, and consensual? Well, I appreciate being thus labeled. Alright, anyway, we had a job to do over here. We are trying to get back to the captain's quarters, which is in corridor 2. Standing outside the captain's quarters, you look at the heavy device in your hand. It's taken longer than you'd like to get here, thanks to taking a stream break and taking the dog outside and eating a granola bar and whatnot. But at least now you could get those codes from the captain. Okay, so first to get the PST. I kind of wish it wouldn't, like, blink the item button at me every time I'm supposed to use an item. I don't need that much hand-holding, game. I wonder if there's an option about that. No, not really. Oh, wait. No. You kneel down by the terminal to the side of the door, laying the PST on the ground and unclipping the catches that hold the front of the unit closed. After it starts up, you swiftly draw out the cable and connect it to the terminal's underside. Squinting at the screen's phosphorescent glow in the low light, you scroll your way through a series of menus to select the unlock function. Once you hit enter on the command, a prompt shows up on the screen. Alright, now we want to use Cassie's keycard for this, I think. Once the device reads your keycard, you hear the soft whir of the door unlocking and a hiss as it slowly opens. Okay, I can leave this here for the time being. You stand up and step in front of the door, which continues its painfully slow opening. Come on, come on, come on. Captain, are you... Ugh, that's... Ugh. As you step across the threshold into the dark of the captain's quarters, you're instantly overwhelmed by a powerful fetor. You gag and stumble your way back to the door, taking a deep breath of the corridor's sterile air. You try to compose yourself, but the odor drifts out around you, and a particularly acrid waft stings the back of your throat as you take another breath, causing you to gag again. Ugh. The atmosphere on ships and even the colonies are carefully regulated, and the air supply constantly scrubbed and recycled. Because of this, strong smells are something that are almost never encountered and quickly resolved. You realize that with the ship's life support out of action, this hasn't been happening, and whatever is causing the stench in the captain's quarters has been left to putrefy the air into this awful miasma. After a few more retches, you steel yourself to re-enter the room. Before heading in, you bring your arm up in front of your mouth and nose to do your best to bear the stink. You found the official definition? From which edition? Is this as different alignments, attitudes towards relationships and sexuality? Is that what we're on about here? A lawful good character acts with thought, looking ahead to the implications of his actions. He earnestly endeavors to be honest and respectful with any potential partner. Uh-oh. I just got a noise on my phone that... Uh-oh. Oh dear. Okay. Unfortunately, friends, I have a work emergency coming up. So, unfortunately, I need to draw down the stream right away. I will save the game here. And thank you all for being with me. I would definitely have liked to go longer, but duty calls, I guess. I will, blink, blink. See you all next time. Thank you for keeping the chat lively. Live with honor, and your heart is unassailable. Good day.